While her lover had the audacity to attend our family dinner with parents present, I played the recording, watched my wife collapse, and quietly suggested to him we continue our discussion in the backyard. Me, 29 years old, living in Denver, working as a software architect at a big tech company, married to Claire, thought we had the perfect life. Everything changes during the Thanksgiving family dinner. My heart beating like thunder when I walk into the dining room. Everyone's there. My mom and dad, my sister Natalie with her kids. And of course, there she is, Claire, sitting near the head of the table, her face glowing with fake laughter. Across from her sits Ryan, the man I've grown to despise more than anyone in existence. He's leaning back like he owns the place. Neither of them sees what's coming. Flash drive in my pocket feels like a grenade. Found the evidence hours earlier. Their messages, their videos, their disgusting plans. Claire's lies finally exposed. Like cheap thread unraveling. Didn't sleep the night before. Didn't need to. Kept replaying the recording. Over and over. Let the anger fill me like gasoline. Now I'm here, ready to light the fire. Everyone's festive chatter dies as I walk in. Ignore their greetings. Go straight to the TV in the corner. Complete silence falls. What's this? Claire asks, her voice sharp. Edge of nervousness in her tone. You'll see, I reply. Don't even look her way. The video starts playing. Air gets thick with tension. Not just any video. It's them. His hands on her. Her fake giggles. Their whispers. Their betrayal. Room erupts in gasps. Stunned silence follows. Claire freezes. Her face goes pale as paper. Fork clatters onto her plate. Ryan's smile melts faster than ice cream on a hot sidewalk. Claire, my mother starts. Cut her off with a sharp gesture. Claire tries to stand. Her legs give out. She faints. Slumps sideways in her chair like a wilted flower. Room explodes into chaos. Chairs screech as people stand, everyone trying to help. But my focus is locked on Ryan. Lunge forward, grab his collar, drag him up before anyone can react. You bastard, I roar, slam his head into the table. Satisfying crack as his nose breaks. Blood sprays onto the tablecloth. Mixes with the gravy and roasted potatoes. This is what happens when you mess with another man's wife. Pound my fist into his stomach. Drive my knee into his groin. He collapses with a pathetic groan. Cups himself and whimpers. Stop this, my father bellows. But I don't care. Years of trust. Years of love. All betrayed in an instant. Let them see. Let them all see. Turn to Claire, who's regained consciousness. Her mascara-streaked face staring at me in horror. You think I wouldn't find out? I snarl. How long, Claire? How long have you been lying to me? Room falls completely silent, my words hanging heavy in the air. Claire's mouth opens and closes, like a fish gasping for air. Her perfect facade, the one she wore so effortlessly, finally shattered. The truth is out in the open. No charming her way out of this one. Please, she stammers, clutching the edge of the table like it could save her from drowning in her own lies. Don't you dare say please to me, I bark, pacing in front of her like a caged wolf. My knuckles raw from slamming Ryan's face, but the pain only fuels my rage. You've been lying to me, making me feel crazy for doubting you. All those late nights, all those business trips. It's not what you think, Claire starts. Cut her off with a laugh. So cold it could freeze hell over. Not what I think, I yell. Point to the screen, where their indiscretions are paused in damning clarity. What else could this be? You're going to tell me this is Photoshop? That I'm imagining things again? Like you've said so many times before? Her face twists with desperation. I was going to tell you, she pleads. I didn't know how. You didn't know how? My voice rising, like a storm I can't contain. You knew how to meet him at cheap motels. You knew how to lie to my face. Every time I asked what was going on, you knew how to betray me. Claire stands abruptly. Her chair crashes to the floor. You don't understand, she screams, tears streaking down her face. You were never home. You never cared about me anymore. That hits me like a sledgehammer to the chest. The audacity, the sheer nerve of her, to turn this around on me. Oh, so it's my fault now? I ask, voice dripping with sarcasm. I worked long hours to give you everything you wanted. The house, the car, the vacations. And this is how you repay me? Ryan groans from the floor, still clutching his bloody nose. Trying to sit up, kick a chair out of the way, stand over him. Don't even think about moving, I growl. He freezes, eyes wide with fear. Natalie finally steps in. This is madness, she says. Her voice trembling. We're family. We can't handle this here. Oh, we're handling it right here, I shoot back, my voice cracking. Everyone needs to see the truth. I won't be gaslit by her anymore. Claire's face turns from pleading to icy rage. You want the truth? She snaps. Fine. Yes, I cheated. I was lonely, and Ryan was there for me in ways you weren't. He listened. He cared. Something you stopped doing a long time ago. Room goes dead silent. Mom covers her mouth in shock. Dad mutters a curse under his breath. Clench my fists, nails digging into my palms. So that's your excuse? That I didn't listen enough? Didn't care enough? Take a step toward her. She flinches. I gave you everything, Claire. My time, my trust, my loyalty. But apparently that wasn't enough for you. Tears fill her eyes, but her expression stays defiant. You're not perfect, she says. Stop acting like you are. Oh, I'm far from perfect, I admit. My voice low and trembling with fury. But at least I never destroyed our marriage. For a cheap fling with a worthless co-worker. Co-worker? My father blurts out. Claire, you've been bringing your lover around this family? Under our noses. Her face reddens, but she stays silent. Ryan finally manages to speak. Through his mangled nose. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. We didn't mean to hurt anyone. Laughed bitterly, my voice echoing off the walls. Didn't mean to hurt anyone? You two schemed behind my back for months, maybe years. And now you're telling me it wasn't intentional? Natalie tries to intervene again. Let's just calm down. We can talk about this. No, I interrupt. I'm done talking. Talking hasn't gotten me anywhere with her. All she's ever done is lie. Claire glares at me, her hands shaking. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? Fine, I'm sorry. But don't act like you're some saint. You've ignored me for years. You've treated me like I'm just another piece of furniture. And whose fault is that? I roared. You pushed me away every time I tried to connect. I see now it's because you already had him waiting. The room is suffocating, air heavy with tension and anger. My father finally stands, his face stern. This is not the place for this. Take it outside or leave. But this is our family dinner, and I won't have it turn into a circus. Turn to him, my voice steady but firm. I'm sorry, Dad, but this circus started long before I walked in. I'm just the one who finally pulled back the curtain. Claire sinks into her chair, buries her face in her hands. Ryan looks like he wants to crawl under the table. And me, I'm ready for answers. Or the end of it all. The dining room is now a battlefield. Holiday cheer long gone, bloodied napkins and shattered trust. Decorate the table where laughter once lived. My father's stern glare lingers on me, his disappointment heavy, but I couldn't care less. This isn't about keeping up appearances anymore. It's about justice. Raw and unfiltered, Claire sits slumped in her chair, looking completely defeated. Ryan, the spineless coward, dabs at his bloody nose with a napkin, his face pale and glistening with sweat. I'm not done with either of them. Grab another chair, spin it around, sit across from Claire. Lean forward until my face is level with hers. You're not walking out of this room without telling me the truth. My voice sharp and steady. How long has this been going on? She hesitates, eyes darting around the room, looking for an escape route. When none comes, she finally answers, her voice barely above a whisper. 6 months. Lean back in my chair, the weight of her words settling on my chest like concrete. Half a year, I mutter. More to myself than anyone else. Half a year of sneaking around, lying to my face, and pretending everything was fine. It wasn't fine, Claire snaps, her voice breaking. You were never home. You were always working, always distracted. I felt invisible. Shake my head, laugh bitterly. Invisible? That's your excuse? I was working my ass off to make sure you never had to lift a finger, Claire. To give you the life you said you wanted. And while I was doing that, you were… Trail off. Words choked by the sheer disgust bubbling inside me. I made a mistake, she says, tears streaming down her face now. A horrible, stupid mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear. Oh, so this was an accident, I shoot back, voice dripping with sarcasm. What, you tripped and fell into his arms? Into his bed? Her face twists in anger. You don't know what it's like. To feel neglected, to feel like you don't matter anymore. Stand up so abruptly. My chair topples over. Don't you dare twist this into something about me, I hiss, pacing in front of her like a caged animal, my knuckles raw from slamming Ryan's face. But the pain only fuels my rage. You had choices, Claire. You could have talked to me, gone to therapy, anything. But instead you chose him. Jab a finger in Ryan's direction. He flinches, holds up his hands defensively. Look, man, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have… Shut your mouth, I growl, cutting him off. You don't get to apologize. Not here, not ever. Room is deathly quiet again, save for Claire's muffled sobs. Natalie finally speaks up, her voice gentle but firm. This is a mess, but you can't solve it all tonight. Maybe you should both take a step back and cool down. Cool down? I echo. Turn to face her. Natalie, this isn't something you just cool down from. My wife. Your sister-in-law has been screwing another man for 6 months? This isn't a little spat that can be fixed. With an apology and a hug, still she presses on. You're just going to make things worse. If you keep going like this, think about what you really want here. What I wanted, that was the million-dollar question. Part of me wanted to pack up Claire's things, throw them onto the lawn, lock the door behind her forever. Another part wanted to erase the last 24 hours, go back to the blissful ignorance I'd been living in. But neither option felt right. Claire senses my hesitation, reaches for my hand, jerk away before she can touch me. Don't, I say. Voice hoarse, don't act like we're suddenly okay. We're not. I want to fix this, she pleads, her tear-filled eyes searching mine. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll go to therapy. I'll quit my job if that's what you want. Just please don't give up on us. Stare at her, searching for any trace of the woman I married. The woman who once made me believe in love, in loyalty, in forever. But all I see is a stranger, someone who took a wrecking ball to everything we built together. I can't decide that right now, I say finally, my voice heavy with exhaustion. Not after this. Gesture to the blood-stained table. The damning video still frozen on the TV screen. Claire nods, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. I understand, she whispers. Turn my attention to Ryan, still sitting on the floor, like the pathetic worm he is. As for you, I say. Step closer. He cowers, shields his face. You ever come near me or my family again, and you'll wish tonight was the worst thing that ever happened to you. Understood? He stammers, voice trembling. Don't wait for a response. Grab my coat, head for the door. Room erupts into murmurs as my family tries to process what just happened. But I don't care. Need air, space, anything to escape the suffocating reality of what my life has become. The cold December night bites at my skin as I step outside, but it's a relief compared to the heat of the dining room. Stand on the porch, staring into the darkness. My mind a swirling storm of rage, heartbreak, and confusion. The night isn't over, but I have no idea where it will take me next. The cold air feels like needles on my skin, but I welcome it. Anything to numb the storm inside me. Stand on the porch, gripping the wooden railing so tight, my knuckles turn white. My breath comes out in ragged clouds. The only sound in the stillness of the night. Behind me, the house buzzes with chaos. Can hear muffled voices, Natalie trying to calm Claire, my father shouting something about calling the police, and Ryan whimpering. Like the pathetic excuse for a man he is, pull out my phone. Stare at the screen, thumb hovering over my best friend Henry's number. He's my go-to guy, the one person who's always been there, no matter what. But calling him now, explaining this disaster over the phone, I can't do it. Shove the phone back in my pocket. Start walking. The quiet streets of my childhood neighborhood feel surreal, like I'm moving through a dream I can't wake up from. Every Christmas light and festive decoration on the houses I pass feels like a cruel joke. Families laughing, celebrating, while mine is falling apart piece by piece. Stop at the park at the end of the street. Sit down on a bench. The memories hit me like a freight train. Claire and I had come here on one of our first dates. It had been spring then, the maple trees in full bloom. She'd laughed as I tried and failed. To impress her by climbing a tree, to pick a flower, that laugh. I'd fallen in love with it. But now it felt like a weapon. She'd used to lure me into her web of lies. Lean back, staring up at the stars. What the hell am I supposed to do? Mutter to no one in particular. The crunch of footsteps behind me makes me sit up straight. Turn, half expecting it to be Claire or Natalie, coming to drag me back into the circus. Instead, it's my father. Mind if I sit? He asks. Voice gruff but not unkind. Nod. He lowers himself onto the bench beside me. For a while, we just sit there in silence, the chill in the air doing most of the talking. Finally, he speaks. You know, your mother and I have had our fair share of fights over the years. His tone measured. Some pretty bad ones, too. But this is something else. Don't respond. Just stare at the frost-covered grass in front of me. Claire screwed up, he continues. No doubt about that. And that Ryan, I'd like to take a swing at him myself. But what matters now is what you're going to do about it. Let out a bitter laugh. What can I do, Dad? She destroyed everything. How do you come back from that? He sighs, his breath visible in the cold. You can't undo what's been done, but you've got choices. You can try to rebuild. If you think there's anything worth saving, or you can walk away and start over. Start over, I mutter, the words tasting foreign on my tongue. Do you have any idea how much we've built together? The house, the plans, the memories. Memories don't mean much if they're built on lies, he says bluntly. Look at him, surprised by his harsh tone. I'm not saying it to be cruel, he adds, softening, but you've got to think about what's best for you. Not her. Not anyone else. Just you. The words hang in the air between us, heavy and undeniable. Do you think people can change? I ask. Voice barely audible. He's quiet for a long moment, before answering. I think they can, but only if they truly want to. And even then, it doesn't mean you have to stick around. Waiting for them to prove it, nod slowly. The weight of his words sinking in. You've always been a good man, he says, clapping a hand on my shoulder. Don't let this break you. You deserve better. With that, he stands, walks back toward the house, leaving me alone with my thoughts. Sit there for what feels like hours, replaying everything in my mind. The lies, the betrayal, the confrontation. Every time I think about Claire's face, her tears, her excuses, feel a fresh wave of anger crash over me. But beneath the anger, there's something else. Something quieter, but just as powerful. Sadness. Grief for the life I thought we had. For the woman I thought she was. Eventually, the cold becomes too much to bear. Make my way back to the house. When I step inside, the dining room has been cleaned up, the blood and chaos scrubbed away, as if it had never happened. But the tension lingers. Thick and suffocating, Claire is sitting alone at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. She looks up when I walk in, her eyes red and swollen. Can we talk? She starts. Hold up my hand to stop her. I don't want to talk right now, I say, voice flat. I'm going to bed. She nods, her shoulders slumping in defeat. Make my way upstairs to the guest room. Shut the door behind me. Lie there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts. Could I forgive her? Did I even want to? And if I couldn't, what would life look like without her? Don't have the answers yet. But one thing is certain, nothing would ever be the same again. Morning light seeps through the guest room curtains, the muted glow doing little to soften the ache in my chest. Haven't slept much. If at all, my thoughts kept me awake, swirling in endless loops of betrayal and rage. Throw on some clothes, make my way downstairs, bracing myself for the aftermath. The house is eerily quiet, the kind of silence that feels unnatural. Claire isn't in the kitchen, the dining room, or the living room. Part of me feels relief not to see her, but another part feels the pang of absence, a cruel reminder of how deeply her betrayal has embedded itself into my life. Natalie is sitting at the kitchen island with a cup of coffee. She looks up when I enter, her expression a mix of worry and pity. Morning, she says softly. Is it? I reply. Pour myself a cup of black coffee. She doesn't push, which I appreciate. Natalie has always been the empathetic one in the family, but even her presence feels like too much this morning. I made Claire leave last night, she says after a pause. Figured you needed space. Freeze, cup halfway to my lips. You what? She didn't want to go, Natalie explains quickly. But I told her this was your house too. And if anyone needed to leave, it was her. Sit down, the tension in my shoulders easing slightly. For the first time since this whole mess began, someone had made a decision that felt like it was in my corner. Thanks, I mutter, genuinely meaning it. She said she'd be at a hotel, Natalie adds, and that she'd wait for you to decide when or if you want to talk. Not trusting myself to say more. After breakfast, decide to leave the house. Can't sit in that place any longer. Surrounded by memories that now feel tainted. Need air, space, a chance to think, without the walls pressing in on me. Drive aimlessly for a while, letting the hum of the engine and the rhythm of the road distract me. My mind, however, refuses to stay quiet. Flashes of the previous night keep invading my thoughts. The damning recording, Claire's pale face, Ryan's broken nose, and the chaotic storm that followed gripped the steering wheel tighter, jaw clenched. As the emotions threatened to overwhelm me again, eventually end up at a small diner. On the outskirts of town, one of those places where the coffee is always strong, and the waitresses call everyone hun, slide into a booth in the corner, grateful for the anonymity. The waitress, a woman in her 50s with a kind smile, pours me a cup of coffee without asking. Rough night, she asks, her tone sympathetic but not prying. You could say that, I reply, with a faint smile. As I sip my coffee, pull out my phone. Stare at the screen. There are texts from Claire. Short, desperate messages that I can't bring myself to open. Please talk to me. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to fix this. Lock the screen. Shove the phone back into my pocket. The sight of her name making my stomach churn. The truth is, I don't know if I want to fix anything. Claire's betrayal had cut deeper than I thought possible. And the idea of trusting her again feels like trying to rebuild a house on a crumbling foundation. As I sit there, staring out the window, start to reflect on the cracks that had been forming in our marriage, long before Ryan ever entered the picture. Claire wasn't wrong about me being busy. I'd poured myself into my work over the past few years, determined to climb the ladder, give us the kind of life we'd always dreamed about. But in doing so, I'd neglected her, neglected us. Our conversations had become shallow, surface-level exchanges about schedules and bills. The intimacy, both physical and emotional, had faded into the background, replaced by the monotony of routine. But even so, nothing justified what she'd done. Nothing gave her the right to step outside our marriage, instead of trying to fix what was broken. Think back to the early days of our relationship, back when we couldn't keep our hands off each other, couldn't go a day without talking about our hopes and dreams. When had that changed? When had we started drifting apart? The realization hits me like a punch to the gut. Maybe this wasn't just her failure. Maybe it was ours. Stay at the diner for hours, replaying everything in my mind. By the time I finally leave, the sun is high in the sky, casting long shadows across the pavement. Instead of going home, drive to Henry's place. He opens the door, his expression shifting to concern. The moment he sees me, "Jesus, man, you look like hell," he says, stepping aside to let me in. "Thanks," I mutter. Collapse onto his couch. Henry doesn't push for details, which is exactly why I'd come to him. He hands me a beer, sits down across from me, and waits, after a long silence. Finally tell him everything. Claire, Ryan, the video, the confrontation. By the time I finish, my voice is hoarse, and my hands are trembling. Henry leans back, his expression grim. "Man, that's brutal. I don't even know what to say." "I don't know what to do," I admit, my voice breaking. Part of me wants to forgive her, try to fix things. But the other part, I don't think I can look at her. Without seeing him, Henry nods slowly. "You don't have to decide right now. Take some time. Figure out what you really want. Just don't rush into anything. You'll regret later." Not his words sinking in, for the first time in what feels like forever, feel a sliver of clarity. That night, as I lay on Henry's couch, staring at the ceiling, make a promise to myself. Whatever decision I made, whether to fight for my marriage or let it go, it would be on my terms. No more lies, no more pretending. Time to take back control of my life. The next morning, wake up on Henry's couch, with a crick in my neck and the faint memory of his encouragement echoing in my head. His advice stuck. Needed time and space to figure things out. The road ahead isn't clear, but for the first time since everything exploded, feel like I'm standing on slightly steadier ground. Sit up, run a hand through my hair, glance at my phone. More messages from Claire. "Please, we need to talk. I'll tell you everything. No more lies. You can hate me, but I can't lose you." The bitterness in my gut roars back. Nearly hurl the phone across the room. Don't want her apologies. Don't want her explanations. But a part of me, damn it, a small but persistent part, feels the pull of curiosity. Need answers, if only to make sense of how we'd ended up here. So against my better judgment, text her back. Meet me at the park at noon. You've got one chance to explain yourself. The park is cold and empty when I arrive. The wind cuts through my jacket. As I sit on the same bench my father and I had shared the night before. Memories of Claire and me here, years ago, still fresh in my mind, taunting me with their innocence. She shows up 10 minutes later, her face pale, her eyes swollen from crying. She's wearing the scarf I bought her last Christmas. And for a brief, fleeting second, I hate how much I still notice things like that. "Hi," she says softly, stopping a few feet away from me. Don't respond, just gesture for her to sit. She hesitates, then sits down, keeping a cautious distance between us. For a moment, neither of us speaks. The silence thick, heavy with everything unsaid. Finally break the silence. "Why?" I ask, my voice colder than I'd intended. Claire flinches, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. "I don't know where to start," she says, her voice barely audible. "Try the truth," I snap. Her eyes well up with tears, but I refuse to feel sorry for her. This was her mess, and I wasn't about to make it easier for her. I felt alone," she says finally. "You were always working, always distracted. It was like I didn't exist anymore." "That's your excuse," I say, my voice rising. "I worked hard for us, Claire. For our future." "And your response was to what? Jump into bed with the first guy who paid you attention?" "It wasn't like that," she cries, her voice breaking. "It started as just talking. He listened to me, made me feel seen," laughed bitterly. "Oh, how noble. And when did talking turn into sleeping with him?" Her face crumples. She looks away. "It was a mistake," she whispers. "A terrible, stupid mistake." "A mistake?" I repeat incredulously. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary, Claire. This was a choice. A series of choices. Over and over again. Don't you dare insult my intelligence by calling it a mistake." She breaks down, sobbing into her hands, but her tears do little to soften my anger. You don't get to cry, I say harshly. You don't get to play the victim here. She nods, wiping her eyes. You're right, she says shakily. I have no excuse. I was selfish, and I hurt you in the worst way possible. But I love you. I've always loved you. Scoff at her words. Funny way of showing it. I'll do anything to fix this, she pleads. Therapy, counseling, whatever you want. Just please don't give up on us. Her words hang in the air, desperate and raw. And for the first time, feel something other than anger, confusion. Part of me wants to believe her, to cling to the hope that we could somehow rebuild what she'd shattered. But the other part, the louder, angrier part, can't forgive her. Why him, I ask after a long silence. Of all people, why Ryan? She hesitates, then looks down at her hands. He was convenient. He was around. It doesn't mean anything. He doesn't mean anything. Convenient, I repeat, the word tasting sour in my mouth. You threw away our marriage for convenient? I know, she whispers, her voice thick with shame. Stand up abruptly, unable to sit there any longer. The sight of her, the sound of her voice, it's too much. I need time, I say, my voice tight. Don't call me. Don't text me. Just give me time. Okay, she says quickly, standing as well. I'll wait as long as it takes. I swear, I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Don't respond. Instead, turn and walk away. Each step feeling heavier than the last. That night back at Henry's place, replay the conversation in my mind over and over. Her words, her tears, her desperate pleas. They're like a poison I can't purge. Could I ever forgive her? Could I even begin to trust her again? And if I couldn't, what did that mean for the life we'd built together? The questions are endless, and the answers feel impossibly far away. But one thing is certain, the road ahead wouldn't be easy. For now, all I can do is put one foot in front of the other and hope that somehow I'd find my way. Spend the next several days in a strange limbo, a mix of anger, sadness, and something I hate admitting, regret. Claire stays out of the house as I'd asked. Leaving me alone with my thoughts, Henry tries his best to distract me. But the reality of what happened clings to me like a shadow. Can't escape it, no matter how hard I try. The recording on the flash drive remains in my possession. Can't bring myself to destroy it. It feels like both a weapon and a wound, a reminder of what I'd seen, what I know, and the depths to which Claire and Ryan had sunk. Late one night, curiosity or maybe masochism gets the better of me. Plug the flash drive into my laptop. My heart racing as I open the file. What plays out on the screen is a brutal confirmation of everything I already know. Claire's laugh, so familiar and once comforting, sounds hollow and tainted. As she speaks to Ryan in the recording, they joke, they flirt, they cross every boundary that had once protected our marriage. It isn't just the physical betrayal that guts me. It's the emotional connection they'd shared. The intimacy that had once been mine. Slam the laptop shut, my breathing heavy, my hands shaking. My chest aches as if I'd been hit by a truck. Can't stop the tears that follow. This isn't something I can forgive. Not now. Maybe not ever. The next morning, decide to take control of my life. No more wallowing. No more replaying the betrayal in my mind. Time to act. Call my lawyer Richard, an old friend who'd helped me with some minor legal matters in the past. He doesn't ask many questions. When I tell him what happened, he simply listens, his tone professional yet sympathetic. You've got options, he says, after I explain everything. If you want to file for divorce, we can get the ball rolling immediately. But if there's even a small part of you that wants to try to save this marriage, I'd recommend couples counseling first. Either way, it's your call. Hesitate. The weight of the decision pressing down on me. Filing for divorce feels final, like cutting away a part of my life and walking away from it forever. But trying to save the marriage, that feels impossible. After what I'd seen, what I know, I need time to think, I say finally. Take your time, Richard replies, but don't wait too long. The longer you let this sit, the harder it'll be to move forward. No matter what you decide. That afternoon, Natalie stops by unannounced. She brings lunch, a peace offering I suspect, sits with me in the kitchen. While I pick at a sandwich, I don't have the appetite for her. How are you holding up? She asks, her voice gentle. Shrug. Depends on the hour. Sometimes I feel like I'm okay, like I can handle this. Other times, trail off, shaking my head. Natalie nods, her expression understanding. I can't imagine what you're going through. True, I say, but you're stronger than you think. Am I ask, my voice bitter. Because right now, I feel like I'm barely holding it together. You're allowed to feel that way, she says. But don't let it break you. You deserve better than this. Her words strike a chord, and for the first time in days, feel a flicker of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Determination. That evening, return home. The house is as quiet as ever, but this time it doesn't feel suffocating. It feels like mine again. Go upstairs to the bedroom. Pause at the doorway. The bed we'd shared now feels like a monument to her betrayal. Can't bring myself to sleep there. Instead, grab a few things. Head back downstairs to the guest room. As I settle in, my phone buzzes on the nightstand. Another message from Claire. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I'm not giving up on us. Please just tell me what you need. Stare at the message for a long time. Before typing a response, I need time, she replies almost immediately. I'll wait as long as it takes. Don't respond. The next day, meet with Richard in person. He lays out the legal process for divorce, explaining everything in detail. The paperwork, the division of assets, the possibility of alimony. It all feels overwhelming. Do you think she'll contest it? Richard asks. Shake my head. No. She's too focused on trying to win me back. If I decide to file, I think she'll sign without a fight. Good, Richard says. That'll make things easier. Easier, I repeat, the word feeling hollow. On the drive home, think about the life Claire and I had built together. The good times, the bad, the moments that had defined us as a couple. Was I ready to throw it all away? The answer isn't clear, and that scares me. When I get home, find myself sitting in the guest room, staring at the divorce papers Richard had given me. All I have to do is sign them, and the process would begin, but I can't do it. Not yet. For now, the papers will stay in the drawer, out of sight, but not forgotten. That night, as I lay awake in the guest room, make a decision. The road ahead would be mine to choose. No one, not Claire, not Ryan, not even Richard, could dictate how I moved forward, whether I chose to fight for my marriage or walk away from it. The choice would be mine, and mine alone. For the first time in what feels like forever, feel a sliver of control. And for now, that was enough. 2 weeks passed since I'd last seen Claire. The house feels like a museum of our life together. Each room a gallery of memories, both cherished and cursed. The divorce papers remain unsigned in the drawer, a silent reminder of the decision I hadn't yet made. The days are quieter now. Avoid mutual friends, skip family calls, bury myself in work. Yet deep down, no, I'm circling the same question. Do I give Claire another chance? Or do I end it all? The answer comes sooner, and more violently than I ever expected. It's a Friday evening, when the knock at the door startles me, not expecting anyone. For a moment, consider ignoring it, but the persistent pounding won't stop. When I open the door, find Ryan standing there, his face bruised, his nose still swollen, from our confrontation at the family dinner. You've got some nerve coming here, I growl, gripping the edge of the door. I need to talk to you, he says, his voice strained. It's about Claire. Get off my porch before I finish what I started, I snap, already halfway to slamming the door in his face. She's lying to you, he blurts out, his voice trembling. She's been lying to both of us. The words freeze me, open the door a fraction wider, glaring at him. What the hell are you talking about? Ryan glances over his shoulder nervously, as if expecting someone to appear. She played me, made me think she was leaving you, that we had a future, but now I see she was just using me. Good for you, I say coldly. You're only just figuring out that my wife's a liar. Congratulations. Now get lost. He shakes his head. You don't understand. Claire's not just cheating on you with me. There's someone else. The air seems to leave the room. What? I found out last week, Ryan says, his voice rising with desperation. She's been seeing another guy, someone she met at her gym. She's been playing us both. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. My grip on the door tightens as the room spins. You're lying, I say through gritted teeth, though I can already feel the cracks forming. In my resolve, why would I lie? Ryan says, throwing his hands up in frustration. She's been feeding me the same sob story. She probably told you that she's lonely, that you don't understand her. And all the while, she's out with some other guy. Step back, my mind racing. Was it possible? Could Claire be so brazen? So reckless? To betray me not once but twice? Get out, I say, my voice trembling. I'm telling you the truth, Ryan insists. Check her gym records. Ask her where she's been. You'll see. Slam the door in his face. Lean against it. My heart pounding in my chest. That night, can't sleep. Ryan's words haunt me. And despite my hatred for the man, can't shake the nagging feeling that he might be telling the truth. The next morning, drive to Claire's gym. My stomach churns as I park across the street, eyes fixed on the entrance. Hadn't told Claire I was coming. Need to see this for myself. An hour later, I see her. Claire walks out of the gym, her face flushed, hair damp with sweat. But she's not alone. A man follows close behind her, tall and muscular, with an air of confidence. That makes my blood boil. They laugh as they walk to his car, her hand brushing his arm, in a way that feels too familiar. My chest tightens as I grip the steering wheel, fighting the urge to charge out and confront them both. But I don't. I wait, watching as they drive off together. That evening, confront Claire when she walks through the door. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, the divorce papers spread out in front of me. "What's this?" she says, her voice wary. "Sit down," I say, my voice cold. She hesitates, then sits across from me, her eyes flicking to the papers. "What's going on?" "I know about the guy from the gym," I say bluntly. Her face goes pale. For a moment, she looks genuinely shocked, but then her expression hardens. "What are you talking about?" "Don't lie to me, Claire," I say, slamming my hand on the table. "I saw you with him. I know everything." Her facade crumbles. She lets out a bitter laugh. "Fine," she snaps. "Yes, I've been seeing him. And you know what? I don't regret it, because at least he makes me feel alive." The words cut deeper than any blade. "Alive?" I repeat, my voice trembling. "Is that what this is about? Your cheap thrills? Your selfishness? You've destroyed everything we built. For your own amusement." Claire stands, her expression defiant. "You don't get it. You never have. You've been so busy being the perfect husband that you forgot what it means to actually live." Rise to my feet, my hands shaking with anger. "Get out," I say, my voice low and dangerous. "Take your lies, your betrayal, and get the hell out of my house." Her eyes widen, but she doesn't argue. She grabs her keys and storms out, slamming the door behind her. As I sit alone in the empty house, a strange sense of calm washes over me. For the first time since this nightmare began, I feel free. Free from the lies, the manipulation, and the weight of a marriage that had long since stopped being a partnership. Pick up the divorce papers, sign my name with a steady hand, and place them in an envelope. It wasn't the ending I'd envisioned, but it was the one I needed. Claire's betrayal had shattered me, but it had also given me something invaluable. Clarity. From this moment on, my life was my own, and for the first time in a long time, I felt ready to move forward.